Can?
बस अब तक ठीक है. शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः. सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
What is shown in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam by Shankaracharya is that creation is designed in a way that it helps living beings to go through their life cycle, facing their own matured karma phal, and in a human form, enabling them, equipping them with a capacity to change their base of karma, to change the base of whatever has been accumulated till now, to be able to reshape their own understanding, to bring about freshness of action, to be able to do them differently than what their swabhav has made them do so far. Creation is designed not as a static creation. When I say static, means as if there is a model to say just some material elements, when they come together, there is a creation, and this creation means the water will stay, the fire will stay, etc. The elements will stay forever, and the combination of the elements have brought about the creation. Creation is a dynamic creation. It's a dynamic process. When I say dynamic process, means there has to be a certain factor which brings about the world, creates the world, that where the jiva will find himself, herself in, that environment which is created specifically as if designed, catering to the individual capacity or the individual's prarabdham, call it, the individual, how he has to face the karma phal. Karma phal is what is determining the dynamism of formation of creation. This karma phal, though it is independent, individual, but it has a collective manifestation. Since karma is never done exclusively, life is interdependent. So there is an interdependence which factors into creation also. This creation is a process, just as even at a relative level, in an individual's level, even if it's your sharira, health, body, if you cease to take care of it, even if you've been gifted with an excellent body, you've gifted by nature, a wonderful, healthy body, if you do not take care of it, the minute you stop taking care of it, even though the deterioration starts, its expression will come much later. After a few weeks, after a few months, you find the deterioration keeps happening because the effort to maintain the body dropped. At a relative level, individual level, physical body is immediately seen, so we can recognize. The health will slip, your body will lose its structure, etc. There'll be pains, there'll be aches, deterioration in every form. To arrest deterioration, what will you have to do? To arrest the deterioration of the body, what will you have to do?
Lifestyle.
Take care of your health, lifestyle changes.
That positive action to counter the deterioration. What will counter that deterioration? The thing that you will have to do in this context, you call that dharma. वो जो शरीर का what is a विकार हो रहा है और health is deteriorating, if you do nothing, what will happen? It will go on deteriorating because whatever has set it in motion will continue it in motion. But to regain your health, you will have to take certain positive actions which counter the deterioration, which will address the deterioration. Those actions with reference to the health here, it could be lifestyle changes, it could be re-exercising, it could be habitual, change your entire way in which you lead your life. The diet changes, etc. That changing principle that you will incorporate, which will counter the deterioration, that principle is dharma. Call it the word because it is that which is going to protect the body from further deterioration. Dharam kya hai? Here Bhashyakara has written, for the sake of this creation, which is meant for everyone, it requires a certain effort to sustain it in a manner that it has its own healthy lifespan. Creation has to be healthy. The water has to be fresh, unpolluted. Air has to remain fresh, unpolluted, etc. The seasons have to roll exactly so that all life forms can sustain and survive to live their life cycle. What you do with your life is dependent on you. But the creation is a common factor. It's like if I'm living in a house with 5 people, Is the responsibility of the house only on one person? All five will contribute to that house, running of the house. Similarly, creation is a common home for all expression of life. Everyone does their bit. Unknowingly, they are programmed, all other life forms, except human form. A human being is the only one who will break, means he will take this for granted that ye aisa hi rahega creation. That it is there for me to extract whatever I can. I'll extract all the oil, I'll extract all that is possible in this, on this planet, all, and pollute it and corrupt it in every manner, and I still think nature will have the facility to reprocess its health. Shastra says the vision with which creation is there, it says there is a fundamental principle which keeps the creation healthy, and that governing principle is dharma. When everybody does what they are supposed to do, along with pursuing their own individual nature, whatever collectively they are supposed to do as an offer, as a part of creation, whatever is their understanding of what they are supposed to contribute to the creation, health of the creation, in whichever way they can. So if there is a thinker, a teacher, they say that I can contribute to the creation by sharing the knowledge. If there is a strong person, a spirit of leadership, a spirit of warriorship, they say I can contribute to the creation by protecting from the other strong people if someone's exploited. If someone has the capacity to earn wealth, generate wealth, they say I contribute to the creation by distributing the wealth. If someone is just capable of doing none of the above three, but finds that they have the Shakti to follow instructions and do some karma, they say I will follow the instructions and do those karmas. That is also helping to run something. So physical work, most required, also to uphold creation. So Vedic understanding, the creation cannot be held by one person. It is a collective of all beings who go on doing what they are supposed to do. And that nourishes, keeps the creation healthy. But for whatever reason, the dharmas are not followed. For whatever reason here, the reason is clearly expressed. When there is an individual greed, you want more than you give. In which home there is maximum jhagda happening, when in that home, all the members are looking at their stake of happiness. Not even one person is there who looks for a collective happiness of all. If everybody is extracting their happiness from every other person in the house, in the home, then that home is an extremely disturbed home. Has a lot of agitation because the focus is on what can I take out. That tendency human being has, because from Vedantic perspective, come back to the Siddhant, Vedantic perspective, we know as long as we are in avidya, we are unfulfilled, we seek fulfillment, and way to seek fulfillment is from the world. Therefore, desire fulfillment is my way of fulfilling myself. By default, everybody will do that. So once there is this kama udbhavata, rising of the kama, it numbs your capacity to think clearly, to control your impulses, to direct your impulses, to direct your greed, to direct your egoism, etc. That capacity to clearly think gets subdued. So what happens? This individual keeps on moving slowly to becoming a taker in the creation, more than he is a giver of the creation, in the creation. A Vedic lifestyle meant every human being was responsible of how much he extracted from the world should be equal to what he requires or equivalent to what he requires for his sustenance, not more. That principle, when is upheld by everyone, automatically there is enough for everyone. But when the karma udbhavata happens और अधिकार जमाने की बात आती है, मेरा अधिकार, and life orients towards अपना अधिकार rather than अपना duty. मेरा अधिकार है, I will do what I want. In this way, there is more and more tendency to move towards doing what is adharma, in the sense you become a taker more than you can contribute back, and as a result of the rise of adharma, the creation is not going to be healthy, it will deteriorate, and as a result of which you are affecting unseen lives. You may not recognize, but every manifestation is connected in a way. We won't see the connections, but my action here can affect someone far off. I don't even know. How? That principle, maybe science will discover someday. But Vedas have recognized that this is a huge, huge organism. It's a life which is, though individual, but it is a collective experience. Individual experience is dependent on the collective state of the experience. And that towards the collective state of experience, what is one's contribution? That is dependent only on one's thinking of what can I do better, serve better, act better in the interest of whoever is falling in my creation. If you actually observe your creation, your individual creation, other than how many followers we have on our social media, which is really not a part of so much of it, but okay, fine, other than that, how many people are we really in touch with? Our entire life. If you remove all these people we have never known, never met, but we still have through social media just before social media has taken an important stage in our life, 10 years ago, just 10 years ago also, how many people you think you have access to in your entire life? कितने लोगों से मिलते हो? Full life.
For us, it's just she and me. That's it. For us, because
No, of course, and
nobody.
immediate family.
Yeah, just the family and all. Just
But
us and family.
Correct.
because
Average, that means how many? That's like what? Even if you include your friends,
Just 5
I'm
to 10.
talking right from your childhood, even if you include, how many will it be?
Who you met?
G?
Who you
Sorry.
thousand मैम
हाँ जी?
1000 से ऊपर
बहुत से ज़्यादा 1000 is like wow. Okay.
नहीं like you attended a wedding उसमें 1000 से ज्यादा लोग होंगे वो नहीं काउंट
How many
करेगी
will you know? How many will you know? How many will you contact? How many know you?
once I had a very big party, it was 470 people.
Okay. So
I knew all.
500, 1000.
Yeah.
That's like a really social person. That is all the people that form your creation. It's a
Like
very
Deepti,
high number.
I
But
meet new students every year.
sorry.
I was just saying, like, I meet new students every year. But
Yeah,
I don't know, matlab, how many of those would be part of my creation? Only the ones that I'm
exactly.
really involved with.
Exactly. You know, how many people really become a part of your creation? How many people are there in your creation?
See,
And
about
yet this
see,
creation is interlinked. अकेला नहीं है. आप अकेले नहीं हो. Even if you have 1,000 people, आप अकेले नहीं हो because of whom those 1,000 people are there. They're not all your known people alone. Those 1,000 have come about because of other family members, they, etc., etc. My point here is creation. Our duty falls in the realm of who fall in our creation. And that all is enough from Vedic standpoint, which will uphold the entire creation. Is this point clear? Because that is what my point is. The example is only brought in, the analogy is brought in to convey we don't have to uplift the creation. People in our creation, our individual creation, when there is a sense of dharma around them, we operate with a sense of dharma within that framework. That is enough contribution at an individual level for sustenance. You know, the example that we have, a handful, absolutely. Example we have, there was a king who was very, very proud that he had a very lovely kingdom, means he was righteous ruler, and his praja was very happy with him, and they were very prosperous in their kingdom, and everything was going wonderful. So he knew that his praja is so happy in his kingdom under his rule that they will do anything that he says. A minister said, let's check it out. So they said we have to create something, and everybody for that particular ritual or worship has to pour in 1 cup of milk from their house. There will be a pot going in every lane, and everybody has to put in 1 cup of milk from their house, and this will go into the total, and they were to do something out of it. Now, the day came, kept on going. By the time it reached the palace again, they realized most of it was water. There was hardly anybody who put in milk because everybody was thinking, एक कप पानी से क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? 1 कप पानी अगर मैं डाल दूं तो क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? Everybody was thinking, average thinking, not everybody. Normal thinking will be, if you have to part with something that you think is going to be good for you into a collective good, you would think if I don't, and there'll be all Arjuna's justifications after that. Collective means this dharma of doing what you ought to be doing within the field that you are focused on towards the people that fall in your creation. Upholding that. To uphold that. Be again and again in creation, a reminder needs to be set in. Because the forces of the others, Duryodhanas around us, the societal views, एक कप से क्या फर्क पड़ता है, they are very strong and powerful. So the temptations to not adopt that lifestyle, where dharma is your main focus, is but natural. And so he says here, to prevent the rise of adharma, to protect those who have this culture in their mind of following dharma, he is calling them, say, Brahmin here. The one's Brahmanatva means It is an epitome of saying those who follow Brahman as their goal, which means even if you have a culture of your mind, in your mind of following the dharma, he says to protect them, the Vaidika dharma, twofold, prakriti, pravritti lakshanaha, nivritti lakshanaha. Pravritti lakshanaha of the Vaidika dharma meant, actually, truly speaking, it means the Vaidika rituals, rites, karma. And as I often say, karma means the Vaidika karma. According to your Varna ashrama, whatever karmas were designed, the daily karmas, the nitya karmas, the naimittika karmas, that was pravritti lakshan. And when you have enough jnana and vairagyam, Shastra gives you freedom from performance of the karma life, and you can give up your karmas. That is nivritti lakshana, but it must have the characteristic of vairagyam, true vairagyam, not the one that Arjuna is showing, and jnanam. And once that has been discovered in a person, you know that you have that kind of a vairagyam. Shastra says now you do not need the life of karma anymore. You are free now to give up your contribution towards the sustenance of creation. You don't have to now contribute back to the creation. You can live a life where you are pursuing the highest, and that is your dharma then.
Excuse me, ma'am.
It's characterized by jnana and vairagyam.
Ma'am, what does vairagya mean?
Anybody can answer that? Anybody
Ma'am?
remembers from Tattva?
When my happiness does not depend on other objects, I'm not attached to objects or people. But does not mean I'm indifferent. But it's just that if I don't get it, what I want, then it does not make me sad. And I don't have hatred towards things. I don't have a lot of love towards anything.
Having a right value.
Yeah, right value.
It's
Right.
a equilibrium in life, right? An equilibrium.
And in vairagyam brings equilibrium.
Okay, okay.
It's identified with bringing equilibrium. Why ragyam? Rag, always remember from the word. Rag means excessive attachment, excessive fondness, absolutely. Excessive holding on to desires, rag, in a layman's language. Vairag means finding yourself free from the pursuit of desires, because you have a right value to what the desires can bring, fulfillment of desire can bring. Correct. Placing the right value and disinterest in the world, as you know, it will never fulfill you. Correct, both of them. Is that okay?
Detachment as well?
Sorry?
Detachment.
Yeah, detachment.
Thank you.
So, such a one, for the sake of Brahmanatvam, Vaidika Dharma, in the form of twofold, pravritti and nivritti, has been restated in the Gita to remind us what are these two dharmas and how to pursue them. Now in this next following paragraph, he continues, Sacha Bhagavan, because he has said in the previous one that this, for the sake of Rakshana, Devakyam Vasudevat Amshena Krishna Kila Sambhabhuva. Krishna is born, has arisen, born not in the sense of birth, but has emerged, has manifested, has avtarit hue hain, in that sense. That Bhagwan is who? Jnana, Aishwarya, Shakti, Bala, Virya, Tejaha. We have done this before. What are the 6 qualities? Complete. Bhaga.
Bhagavad.
Shan Bhaga. Complete. Gyan. This is how you pick up your definitions. Who's Bhagwan? In the Puranas, that definition was given. Shankara brings it here. Bhagwan is one who is complete jnanam, absolute knowledge, whole, knowledge of whole, uninterrupted knowledge, a full vision, complete knowledge. Aishwarya, he has complete balam, right? Lordship, he is the master. Shakti, he has complete power to create. He doesn't depend on anything. Bala, again, strength, the force that is required. He has that. Virya, the courage, maximum, absolute courage. And Tejaha, the effulgence, the yashas in that verse. Means any quality. These are just 6 indicative, because these are what is required to run a life. Who is a jiva? We have 1 or 2 in a very limited way. Our courage is limited, our gyan is limited, our aishwarya is limited, our shakti is limited. We have a limited capacity. Unlimited of all this is Bhagwan. Such a Bhagwan who is endowed with this 6-fold, Bhaga, Sada Sampannaha, always with these 6. It never diminishes even when he is now as a Krishna. Even when there is an avtaran, avtarit hona, even then it is in full form. Trigunatmikam Vaishnavim Swam Mayam Moola Prakritim Vashikritya. With his own Maya, Vaishnavim, because it's relating to Vishnu, this Maya which is now his own Maya, Swam Maya, Maya which is his own, Vashikritya, when he harnesses it. This Maya which is Trigunatmika, 3 gunas. This, when with the help of harnessing his own Shakti and Shakti to create, he comes. And when he comes, he remains Bhagwan. And what are his lakshanas? Ajaha. As if born. He is not born. Ajaha. He looks to have been born. He is not born. Ajaha. He is free of Janma. Janma Rahitaha. That's the distinction between a Jiva Janma and a Bhagwan who has an Avatara. All these details are there in the 4th chapter also. Jiva is born because of their force of Karma Phal. Bhagwan has free entry, let's call it. He's free to enter the creation because he only harnesses his own. It's an appearing creation of his own being. Ajaha, Avyayaha means he is changelessly there. He does not deteriorate or there is no death in that sense. He remains changeless, identified with them. Bhutanam Ishvaraha, he is the Lord of the beings, all beings. And Nitya Shuddhaha, Nitya Buddhaha, Nitya Muktaha, Swabhavaha Apisan. He is of the nature of remaining free. Shuddha, pure, Buddha, full intelligence completely. He is not bound to anything. Buddha means not bound here. Shuddha, not bound, and in complete knowledge, knowingness. Muktaha, free, always free. Remaining that Swabhavaha, Swamayaya, with his own maya, he dehavan iva jataha. What would dehavan mean? Does anybody remember? Dhanavan. That
One
Someone who
van.
has deh. Van means you have
Ah,
something. Like
when you,
Bhagavan, Dehavan, Dhanvan.
correct. So dehavan means the one who has deha. But iva, it looks as if he has a deha. Jataha iva, as if he is born. So to others, he looks to be having a normal body and a normal life, but he himself is ajaha, avyaha, bhutanamishwaraha, nityamukta, etc. All this. Having as if a body, he assumes a body. For what sake? What is his reason? Loka anugraham kurvan lakshyate. For the sake of loka anugraha. That's his lakshya indicated. He assumes a body for the sake of loka anugraha. Swaprayojana abhave api. Even though he has no prayojan of his own. There is no reason to come. He has no vacuum. He has no desire. He doesn't need to take a birth. Having no desire of his own, even then, Bhuta anu jigrikshaya, with the, as if holding a desire to do anugraha for people. Vaidikam dharma dvayam. This twofold Vaidika dharma, Arjunaya, for the sake of Arjun, representing all of us, Arjunaya shoka moha mahodadhau, one who was completely into samsara, shoka moha, ocean of shoka moha, who has slipped into complete shoka moha, nimagnaya, to release him from it, to handle his delusion, who's gone soaked, magna ho gaya apne shoka moha mein, who's got attached to his own shoka moha, to give him freedom from that. Upadidesh. Bhagwan gives him upadesh of twofold dharmas. Pravritti, nivritti. Gunadhikaihi. Why Arjuna? There is a small question here. Why does it choose Arjuna to give this upadesh? Gunadhikaihi. Because he is the one who is adhik gunwala. He is already one who has all gunas in a expressed form, which means he is already well known. If you have to, who are the brand ambassadors? Who's chosen as a brand ambassador?
Someone who already has those qualities.
And not just those qualities. In a Laukik sense, who's chosen as a brand ambassador?
Who's well known.
Who's accepted in the society? Who's well known? Who's recognized?
who's capable.
Who's capable se zyada, who's chosen as a brand, who is recognized in the society as a respectable, accepted person. Arjun kaun tha in his times? He was that brand ambassador for Gita. He was already recognized in the society as a very well established, skilled, looked up to person. He had a lot of respect in society. He was admired by people. He was loved by people. All that. He had a very good reputation. He had a good reputation. So now what is Bhagwan doing? He has chosen Arjuna as a person to disclose this knowledge, to express the knowledge, to give the knowledge, because if Arjuna is already well known and he is given this knowledge, anushthyamanascha dharmaha prachayam gamishyati. Then automatically when he follows it, he will inspire everyone else to follow it in the future. When he will revive himself through this knowledge, then he will inspire others also. Therefore, the revival will have a fast track. It will be a fast track. If he had given it to someone who's not well known at all, then ek ek karke. So he is chosen the ideal member. Through him, it will percolate into the society faster. And therefore, the reinstatement of dharmic values will emerge quicker. Tam dharmam bhagavata yatha upadishtam. That Bhagwan, what he gave, yatha upadishtam, as was given to Arjuna, exactly as it was given to Arjuna. Shankara says, Veda Vyasaha himself, who is a Sarvagnaha, himself an all-knower, who is also Bhagwan himself, has extraordinary, complete measure of Gyan also. Sacha Veda Vyasaha Gita Akhyaihi. He brought that knowledge in the form of Gita. In Saptabhihi Shloka Shataihi Upanibabandha. In 700 shlokas, he bound them. He made a book of them, of what conversation happened between Arjuna and Krishna on that middle of that battlefield, was addressing the dukkha state, the state of mind of a human being which has lost track of what is inner happiness, what is inner peace, what is inner joy, what am I to do in life, what is the right thing to be done. Then the mind has got overpowered by such thoughts that he doesn't know what ought to be done anymore. He's lost track of what is the jiva gati to be for. What should he live his life for? What is his life to be aimed at? What should he keep as the purpose of his life? When the mind has got overpowered by this kind of a thinking, Vaidika Dharma, adapting it to one's life, re-establishes the sense of mental health, re-establishes the mind, and a person rediscovers the peace, the joy, once again, direction of life. By what? Re-establishing Vaidika Dharma in your life. When are you not experiencing it? When the deviation happens and your own karma udbhavata takes place, when your own desires overtake you, they upset your thinking of right and wrong, and you are just hell-bent on getting yourself happy at any cost, at the cost of your family, at the cost of your neighbors, at the cost of your society. I will have my pleasure. When this happens, automatically the inner being, the individual, feels less and less fulfilled, even if he's seemingly pursuing more pleasures. From inward, he will feel less and less complete and fulfilled. Outwardly, he seems to be having a lot of happiness, enjoying his life, but inwardly feels empty. To be able to restate that in life, he says Bhagwan is giving Arjuna, made Arjuna the mouthpiece, the targeted person, because he is well known, well preserved. And so he is going to convey this knowledge to him. Tatidam that same 700 what Vyasa has compiled as verses, made it into a book kind of a thing in the Mahabharata, embedded it in the Mahabharata. That Gita Shastram is a Shastram now. This Gita Shastram, he says, Samasta Veda Artha Sara Sangraha Bhutam. It is Samasta Ved, all Vedas, their essence, Sara, the essence of all Vedas, the knowledge that is in all the Vedas, these 700 verses is the essence of the Vedas. In a sense, it is given. And that all knowledge of the Vedas is Durvigneyartham, is difficult to comprehend for any human being. To go through all the Vedas, understand them, and then understand what is to be followed in life, it's going to take a whole life. Then life will end, but you will not know what to follow. So that entire knowledge of the Vedas and what the Vedas propagates to human beings, that Vaidika dharma of pravritti lakshana, nivritti lakshana dharmas, those are brought by Bhagwan, and Vyasa has compiled it, Samasta Sara Vedan Veda Arthaha, Sangraha, in summary, summarizing them, because it's difficult to know. And therefore, also because Tadartha Vishakaranaya Anekaihi Vivritta Pada Padartha Vakyartha Nyayamapi. Also, there is so many interpretations of these words that it becomes more difficult to come to the actual meaning that was meant in the Vedas, because of Vivritta, different pada, word, padartha, meaning of the word, vakya, sentence, nyaya, as I said in the previous class, based on which the bhashyams are. Many people give different interpretations of the words and the sentences and the logic. Therefore, there are so many ways to look at it. And Shankara says, because it will be very difficult for people to understand what is the real essence to be picked up, which is the correct thing to follow. How do I know that this is right? When two people are saying two different things, how will I discern which is the right that I can follow? He says, because the knowledge is durvigneya, difficult to know. Why is it difficult to know? Because there's so much written, and Shankara is writing at that time. There's so much availability of interpretation over it. Atyanta viruddha aneka arthatvena. And they are contradicting each other also. Lokikaihi grihyamanam upalabhya, which is available to people in the world. Contradictory opinions about the same text, about the same verse, contradictory notions are there, available to people. Therefore, aham, I, Shankaracharya is saying, vivekataha, by discerning them all, alag karke sabko, vivek se, artha nirdharanarthaya, for the sake of arriving at proper meaning, artha nirdharan karne ke liye, Sankshepataha vivarnam karashyami. I am going to be, in short, explaining away the verses. I have taken the step of writing the commentary Bhashyam on Gita because there is so many contradictions available to people in society that people will not be able to understand what they have to follow, because there's so much matam, there are so many opinions about it. Like, for example, what can be the matams, different matams on the Gita itself? I did
The
it in
different schools, Madhavacharya and all of those different.
Correct. So this is why the introduction of the Gita was taken, to bring about the understanding of different ways in which Gita has been approached. But here we have to see what is the correct meaning in the sense of not that they are wrong from their standpoint. If you follow the whole darshana, follow that darshana. Don't mix them. But for the sake of Advaita vision, to establish the Advaita vision, he says, I am going about doing this. And why am I doing it? He further says it. And this is kind of Anubandha Chatushtayam. Asya asya Gita Shastrasya Sankshepataha. In short, this same Gita Shastra has the prayojan for what? Nishreyasam sahetukasya samsarasya atyanta uparama lakshanam. It has the prayojan of bringing nishreyasa. How? By removing this, the hetu of samsara. What is the hetu of samsara? We have seen this avidya, etc. Atyanta uparama lakshanam. It will remove it completely. Therefore, there is a huge prayojan to this Gita Shastra. It becomes a moksha shastram. It can show the path. It can show direction to an individual seeker towards what brings moksha. What gives freedom? Inner freedom. Moksha is absolute freedom. But even relatively, how can you maximize living your life with completeness? He says that sahetukasya samsarasya, it will end the samsara for a person. Tatcha. But that prayojan that is possible, he says, this Gita Shastrasya, to come to this sarva karma sannyas purvakat atma jnana nishtha rupat, this is important, dharmat bhavati. He says, the same Gita Shastram, how will you get nishreyasam? Atma jnana nishtha rupa. And how do you get Atma Jnana Nishtha? That is Sarva Karma Sannyas Purvakat. It precedes, Atma Nishtha precedes Sarva Karma Sannyas. Having that dharma, then he gives that this is not something I am saying. There are praman in the Shastra for these two dharmas, and Pravritti Lakshana Dharma and Nivritti Lakshana Dharma, both are for Abhyudaya and Nishreyasa. And now he connects this. How are they connected? Are they totally distinct or are they connected in some way? And he says, Abhyudaya Arthaha Api. For the sake of Abhyudaya. Abhyudaya, I hope everyone understands now. Abhyudaya means wellness, overflowingness of prosperity, wellness, with righteous means. Abhyudayam, what is good for us. Yaha pravritti lakshanaha dharmaha varnan ashramamscha uddishya vihitaha sa devadi sthana prapti hetuhu. This, what brings Abhyudaya is the pravritti laksha dharma. When followed according to your varna ashrama, what is its uddeshya? It has the capacity up to the point of Abhyudaya, means up to giving you even a deva sthana, making you a devata. When you follow the pravritti dharma, it has the capacity to give you the fruits, and the fruits can be so much as making you a devata itself. You can have a deva bhumi. You can be the lord of a particular reign of devata. That devasthana prapti. You can have a prapti of that devasthana. But when the same pravritti lakshana, when you do the same actions, Ishwar arpana buddhaya anushthiyamanaha. When these actions are done with Ishwar arpana buddhi, buddhi means the having a bhavna of it, having a knowledge of it, Anushtiyamanaha means you do your karmas, your dharmas, but with Ishwar Arpana Buddhi. What will happen? Sattva Shuddhaye Bhavati. You will have Sattva Shuddhi, Chitta Shuddhi. There will be establishment of Sattvic Guna. Means you will have more clarity. And this Sattva Shuddhi also with Phala Abhisandhi Varjitaha. Along with Ishvara Buddhi, Arpana Buddhi, Phala Sandhi, attachment to the results. Your mental seeking, mental attachment to results. Varjitaha, giving it up. Dropping it. This is the formula entirely of Karma Yoga, which is going to be expressed in the 3rd chapter. 47 verses will only talk of this one line. Actually, this introduction is complete of the Gita itself. For whoever is qualified to direct their life for the higher, this has established the formula. Knowledge is already transacted. Classes can actually end. Because what is it? Ishvara Arpana Buddhi Anushtiyamanaha. In your dharmas, in your karmas, having an Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Phala Sandhi, मन में जो अटैचमेंट है फल को लेके, जो जुड़ाव है, कैसा है, कितना मिलेगा, कितना हुआ, कितना in our field of activity. फल की संधि के साथ when you have dropped your mind, संधि को तोड़ दिया, detached it, then this Shuddha Sattvasya that has caused Ishwararpana Buddhi, Phalabhisandhi Varjitaha, has brought about Sattva Shuddhi. This Sattva Shuddhi, Jnana Nishtha Yogyata Prapti Dvarena. This Chitta Shuddhi is now Dwar. Dwar means now it is a door. That's the entry point for Jnana Nishtha ki Yogyata. You've now qualified yourself internally for establishing in Jnana. Nivritti Lakshan ki taraf aa gaye. That Jnana Nishtha Yogyata Prapti Dwarena Jnana Utpatti Hetutvena, which will now become the reason for Jnana to surface. You will be able to abide in it. And that becomes the Hetu for Nishreyasa, for your moksha. Ati Pratipadyate. This has been unfolded in the Pratipadyate means it's unfolded, it's taught. So what is it? I'm going to now summarize it, remove all the words. Let's come to the principle. What is the principle? A human being, and this principle is going to be repeated a lot of times in the Gita. A human being acts, needs a reason to act. कर्म करने का उसको कोई कारण चाहिए, हेतु चाहिए. बिना उसके there is no action that he is possible to perform. To perform that action, he pitches up either a goal or a fruit. उसकी तरफ ही कर्म करेगा ना, because कर्म has to be directed, action has to be directed. Towards where will you direct your action unless until you have a goal fixed or a fruit fixed that you want to enjoy? 99.9% of people will move towards fruit. Fruit will attract you. It's natural, swabhavik. So when there is this attraction towards fruit and you generate actions towards them, phal sandhi hai ye. Your mind has got focused on, attached to the fruit that you want to enjoy in the future. Therefore, you act for it. This is natural. That we saw. This is the karan for samsara. यहीं से शुरू हो गया संसार. बीज बो दिया. You have sown the seed. When you have acted because there is a fruit for which you act, this capacity of free will of yours you have you've engaged yourself with. Limited fruit you want to enjoy. You will be limiting yourself. That limitation to which you will experience is samsara. You have brought yourself back into your jiva bhav. So what is the way out? If this has caught you, अगर ये आपको पिंजरे में डाल रहा है तो आप निकलेंगे कैसे? अगर फल संधि is the cause of your samsara, limitation, sense, then what will give you freedom first level?
Ishwar Arpan,
In this
not
first
for
first
the
one. If fal sandhi has become the karan of you getting bondage, attachment to fruit has become the karan for bondage, then what will be the first step?
Detach yourself.
Detach from the fruit. Fal abhisandhi varjita. You will remove the mind from its motivation only to act for the sake of fruit. Correct. Not prompted by the fruit. Yes, sandhi vichhedaha. You will separate it. Sandhi ho gayi na? Sandhi vichhedaha you will do. You will remove the mind from it. The minute, no, that is later. The minute you have phala sandhi, if that is what is causing the sense of limitation, the first step is the motivation to act towards phal is what you are changing. तो अगर फल मुझे नहीं prompt करेगा, then I have to find another motivation to act, which is Ishwar Arpana Buddhi. Is that clear? Aditi? Yeah? So this is a very amazing, you can't find this psychological truth anywhere. Nowhere close. Greatest psychologist will not give you the straight formula to apply in your life. This is a straight formula applicable. It has discovered the human weakness. Vedas have show us our human weakness and how we ourselves subject and torment ourselves and somehow clip away the potential of our life, how we reduce it, minimize it, and literally leave it to only cow, pure. You're born and then you live a proper life, like I said, that like any pashu, you will just live a life and then you will die. Beech mein kya hua? That little span of life that we had, what did we achieve? What did we get? There's some pleasures and most of it is all rona dhona. Some complaints, some shortcomings, some dunya mein problem hi problem. Life has become heavy, burdensome. And what is Shastra saying? Human life is an enviable life, even for gods. The capacity of human life is so enviable that even gods, when they become devtas because of their punya karma, if you become a devta, abhyudaya pravritti lakshan, अगर बहुत अच्छे कर्म किए हैं, तो आप देवता भी बन गए. They actually want to come back to human form because this is a form in which you can pursue your absolute freedom. Therefore, he says, this pravritti lakshana dharma is very useful. It can give you abhyudaya in a common language as we've studied in Upadeshasar. It will be sakam karma. When you do your karmas for the sake of desires, sakama karma, the same karma when you remove away, मन से फल को त्याग दो, कर्म करो but फल त्याग दो, फिर normal instinct will be to forget how to do an action. We all slip into laziness. Our tamas overpowers us. फिर पता ही we are disoriented. अब करना क्या है? अगर फल के लिए नहीं करना है तो फिर we don't know how to act. I just don't know what I should be doing. Therefore, the sense of dharma should be first instilled in your mind. What are my dharmas? Those dharmas is what I act on. Now offering it to as an arpan buddhi towards the sense of creation, fulfillment and creation. Therefore, he says, such a process of pravritti leading to nivritti. You will grow out of the smallness of mind. And nivritti lakshana, now there is jnana and vairagyam. In this manner, it takes you to nishrayas. So, abhyudaya, when you do it sakama, bring nishkamata to it. Nishkama means phal ki sandhi chhod di. Bring nishkamata in your action. When it becomes nishkama, it brings chitta shuddhi. You don't have to do anything. Your mind is purified. You get freedom from these latent holdings of the mind of its impulsive nature. Freedom from it. This sattva shuddhi, chitta shuddhi makes you yogya of holding the perception of the subtle, gaining the knowledge. On a chitta shuddh manaha, you become a seeker of knowledge. That seeker of knowledge gains the knowledge. And that gaining of the knowledge becomes the karan for jnana nishtha, which becomes the karan for moksha. Is the whole link clear? I may put up a question in your chapter 2.
What is Gyan Nishtha? Like you
Abide.
said,
Nishtha, abiding in knowledge.
first you gain knowledge, then you abide in knowledge,
Abide
and
in
then
that knowledge. Nishtha, take it as a word from stha. Stha means रहना. उस ज्ञान में रहना. Keeping your mind firm in knowledge. जोड़ देना उसको ज्ञान के साथ. And letting that knowledge now precede your life. That, he says, imam dviprakaram dharmam. In this, the two forms of dharmas, pravritti and nivritti dharma, become nishreyasa prayojanam. This is Anubandha Chatushtayam. Prayojan is nishreyasa. How? Parmartha tattvam cha. Vasudevakyam. Vasudev himself is the Parmartha tattvam. Elucidated by him. He said it. Vasudev has said it. Who himself is Parmartha tattvam. That is the topic of the Gita. Parabrahma abhitheya bhutam. Visheshatah abhivyanjayat. Vishishta prayojana sambandha abhideyavat Gita Shastram. So this is, in a way, just say it connects the topic, which is Paramartha, Nishreyasa, yourself, who you are, that Paramartha Tattvam, which is Krishna there. Nishreyas comes to you when you recognize that is here, you yourself. That will give you Paramartha Tattvam. And that is the purpose of Gita Shastram. Yataha tad artha vigyane samasta purushartha siddhihi. Knowing which, that knowledge when you know, samasta purushartha siddhihi, all the purusharthas have got accomplished. Ataha tat vivarane yatnaha kriyate maya. Therefore, tat vivarne, I am giving this vivaranam, bhashyam, another word is vivarnam. I'm giving this vivarnam. Yatnaha, I'm putting that effort. Kriyate maya, by me. Shankara is saying. Why? Because this Gita Shastram, important, this Gita Shastram has the potential capacity to bring a person to Nishraya Sattvam, and which is, once there is Nishrayas, Samasta Purushartha Siddhi, all your Purusharthas have got accomplished. There is nothing left to be done. अब जीवन में कुछ करने के लिए, कुछ पाने के लिए, कुछ अवॉइड करने के लिए, किसी चीज का खोने का भय, कुछ और पाने का आनंद, everything's concluded now. Samasta Purushartha Siddhi has happened. You have reached the end of Jiva Yatra. That samsara bhatkan, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, gets concluded. Once there is Nishraya Sattvam, there is no longer now the need for birth. There is no longer the karma shesha. Therefore, there is no longer a need for janma. If there is no janma, there is no marana. So, Gita Shastra is that knowledge equipping a person to direct their own life towards how to get Abhyudayam. Abhyudayam means prosperity. Have everything that you need. Nowhere in the Shastra is it ever said deny yourself. Denial is not our concept. Deny sense pleasures is not the concept. Have all the enjoyments that are possible, no problem. But there is a method to have them. If your method is right, if your sadhana is right, if the way you approach the pleasures is right, then everything's right. Nothing can go wrong. So you will have all the immediate requirements met, and in the long run, there is also Nishrayasam. So he says that is the reason why I am giving the sadhana chatushtayam. I'm sorry, that is why I'm writing this Bhashyam on the Gita to clarify pada vakya wherever there are contradictions from other ideas, other schools have interpreted it differently. I'm clarifying them so that a genuine seeker will come straight, will not waste too much time in understanding all the other schools and then saying, what am I to pursue? Should understand the formula of life themselves. You won't need anybody else. So Gita, that is why we say has a tremendous value, is growing unproportionately in the world. Why? Because it is giving you the knowledge of how to handle yourself in times when it is difficult, how that is like the least benefit, up to the point how to utilize your own organs of action, your desires, how to direct them, how to pitch up the right goals of life, how to work towards them, what attitudes to hold in your life, what to do with the results, if they come, not come, what do you do with all these feelings and emotions that are there in human beings? How will you address them so that you live a free life and ultimately free yourself? Because Shastra's vision is not just this life. Unless and until you free yourself from the recurring embodied expression, you are not totally free. And that is a very rare person who comes to that urgency and comes to Shastra because of that. We all have to qualify for that. Therefore, it becomes. Is this push clear? With this, it concludes the great. I'm so happy. It concludes a very big, to my mind, it's very, very big. This is not easy to hear in the world. It's not easy. I mean, I guess I'm my own Praman. Even when you're very interested in the knowledge, even then it doesn't come straight away. There is anugraha to have this Bhashyam revealing so many points, giving clarity at so many levels. How much it brings clarity will depend, of course, how much questioning you had in your mind, how objective has been your inner quest, etc. But this sets the whole vision for Vedic culture, why it has to be followed, what it can give you, and it has nowhere you see any sense of rigidity, any sense of fanaticism, any sense of dogma in this entire paragraph, which is the Sar of Veda. He's saying Gita is going to be the Sar of Veda. And if it's only teaching you how to act, how to conduct your life, how can this be not beneficial for human beings? And how should it be associated only with some sort of a ridicule of religion? Cannot be. And so we are completed the Upodghata, and I would say Arpanamastu because it's a big portion. There are a few technical things which I have edited because we still are more oriented towards learning Gita first. That technicality is for those who are on Nivritti mark, who have mental sannyas already and only want to know for the sake of moksha. They are technicals. Like there'll be very small things like Narayan word, and Anubandha Chatushtayam, how does it connect? Those are few details that I have eliminated at the moment. And so with this, any questions so far? Let's take any question if anybody has.
Deepti ji, I have a question.
Ji.
You said that the Vedas say that you don't have to deny yourself. But at the same time, you have to see that it is right. So when you say it is right, it's obviously based on your dharma knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So that value system has to be absolutely perfect.
Yes. To the extent it is going to be perfect, to that an extent you will be able to follow it.
So how do you make it perfect?
By practice.
Practice. Okay.
By practice of your existing knowledge.
Okay.
There is this example we always give. If you are driving on a highway and you're going, say, from Delhi to Chandigarh, and you've taken the highway and it's night now, and you've switched on your headlights. You start from Delhi and you say, I'm going to Chandigarh. It's all dark.
Right.
You only have your headlights in front of you. But those headlights are adequate to take you to Chandigarh. So whatever your buddhi now shows you as dharma knowledge present, remaining abiding in it, will take you to the next point where the headlight will now show the next
turn or the next curve or the
Exactly.
next.
So your next value will automatically get revealed.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the pursuit of dharma, that anchor has to be there.
Okay. Yes.
So the
Thank you
minute
so
the
much.
abidance has come in a person, you will find yourself already seeking or yearning or recognizing. It falls in your ears.
So that's like an intuition that you keep getting.
could be intuition, or it may just be, it'll come to you as knowledge. It won't come like from within just like that. May not
Okay.
come just from within. It'll fall in your ears. It'll fall in your environment.
Mm-hmm.
What you will have, sometimes it will be a digested knowledge. It can come from within also. But do not say it will always be within.
Okay.
The next level will come, arrive. You will recognize when it comes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anybody else has a question?
Yes, Deepti ji. This reminded me of Upodghata, the introduction. You said Devtas are also envious of humans because they see that humans can get free from this life. So if somebody becomes a Devta, then the only way for them to get moksha would be to come back as a human and then try again.
Yeah. Except if you get to Brahmalok. These Vedic karmas, the karmas have, because when they say Abhyudayam, they have the capacity to give you fal up to you being in Brahmalok. From Brahmalok, also you can come back, but in Brahmalok, there is a chance that you will get Upadesh from Brahmaji himself. He's the one who's given all this knowledge.
Yeah.
So then you get mukti from there. But that much, like a whole life of karma and very tough karma, there are certain kind of definite karmas for it. But otherwise, yes, once the devata, you've exhausted that prarabdham of a devata yoni, I would call it a devata sharira, with devata pleasures, with devatas, devaloka, and all heightened pleasures where there is no old age, where there is no disease, where there is only pleasure, only rambhas and urvashis and food and all pure, no contaminated pleasure, no contamination of any form, no pollutants, nothing. All pleasures at the highest. Even then, once that stage is over, you've exhausted it, you have to come back. And it may not be human.
Oh,
It can be any other life form.
So that would depend on what one does in Devlok.
Devlok, it's just a bhumi. You cannot do anything.
So that would depend on already what karmas we have done,
Exactly.
what life
What
we
you
get.
have in your sanchita.
That's a
What is
very long.
collected in the sanchita is from there, one part of you must have got a devta life. You exhaust it. Whatever is now in your sanchita, you take according to that. It could be human, it may not be human.
That's a very long route.
That's why you see one of the very big things that you constantly hear in Vedanta is Vairagyam, because from that Deva pleasure itself, what we keep working for a future happiness, future pleasures, having Vairagyam from that, why am I working for it? Even if it has to come, let it come. I have to anyway go through it. I'm only prolonging my own ordeal of life by getting an interim rest. That's it. What is a Dev Bhumi? It's a rest stage of rest. What is Manushya Bhumi? Struggle. And if you are tired of struggle, you want rest, go work, stay in the Devta Bhumi for how many yugas, God knows, because their time cycle is different from our time cycle. You'll be rested, but you don't know where you're going. You've just prolonged that's why Vedantic Adhikari is the cream of creation. इससे ज़्यादा maturity हो नहीं सकती बुद्धि की. If there is jignasa for Atma Vidya and Vairagyam from the Sukha, this is the only blessed life, truly speaking. And that is why really the nature pushes as if the support, that's how Mahatma said it. You get support from all sides of creation. That jiva gets as if there is this invisible support system which allows you to pursue it. That Atma Vidya is such a cherished thing, and yet not everybody will qualify for it at one lifetime, in one lifetime. So, in our Vedic culture, because we accept this is possible, that is why those who took to that life were held, are revered. उनका ही अनुग्रह हम ले लेते हैं सोच के कि their blessings and we may get inspired, etc. Like people who were close to Ramana at that time. And you just feel sometimes, say, I tell myself, if only I was born 30 years before, 40 years before. I missed him by a few years, no? You missed it, and it's an irreconcilable fact. I missed him. So having the sangat of it's not easy. It's rare. And we fritter it away. We fritter our life away in certain very small things. And that becomes our priority in life then. And what happens? We can't see the till we get educated on these facts, we don't recognize the detrimentality of our own pursuits. They become deterrents at some point. So having a viveka buddhi of what is to be followed and what is not to be followed. Okay, we were supposed to chant today.
One more thing. Why is it just Brahmalok? Like you said, from there you can get moksha. Why not from Vishnu Lok or Shiv Lok?
They are all returnable lokas. Because Brahmalok, only Brahmaji is the Adi Guru in that sense. He has the Vedic entire Brahma Vidya in. Actually, why only Brahmalok? This much is accepted that all the other lokas below it have definitely a return. You cannot add knowledge there because it's a bhog bhumi. Actually, yeah, the answer is because it's an entirely bhog bhumi.
Okay.
So the Purushartha bhumi is only Brahmalok or Bhulok. So that Brahmalok also enough to say that Brahmaji is not giving discourses like we have every week and every day, and Brahmaji is not in that mood. He has a mood to give a discourse once in a billion years.
Wow.
You should be there at that time to get that, and then maybe there is scope for you. Otherwise, from Brahmalok also,
You come back
you come back.
as whatever.
So it's like, that cycle of creation when you start thinking. Just because science is not telling us the causation link, we tend to dismiss it. And that is why I purposely took the Charvakas now. So that, I don't know how many of you have heard or not heard or followed or understood the context of why it will be important to understand that thinking is what is all the time hindering our validity of what the Vedas tell us. We don't accept creation in so many lokas. It is just because I can't see it. Am I to deny it? I don't know. But is that reason? Praman is Vedas. It is there. You will have to accept it because everything is falling in experience. What it says. So it falls in experience as in you can validate it. Is that okay?
So the Charvaka session was more like a warning of caution for us.
Yes. that you will maximize your learning. You'll be able to focus on what it is when you will identify what is the other set of thoughts. Because those are the only questions that keep interrupting our mind. They are valid. Charvaka was valid in itself. It's still valid. And that is why it's one of the most difficult schools over there. I think I did mention it's one of the most difficult thinking to be corrected. You can't remove this thinking from society. It's not a correctable thinking. You can only grow out in. How do you grow out? By growing into a wider thinking. You see the fallacy of the limitation that it brings. Just because I don't know what happens to death, after death, supposing. And clearly the opposite stand of Vedanta. It's one extreme, starting, where it will say consciousness is produced by the body. Combination of the body brings consciousness. And absolutely opposite end is Vedanta, that everything is in consciousness. Your body is in consciousness. Body doesn't produce consciousness. You are that in which the body is. So that thinking is, so instead of addressing one question at a time, I thought if we just understand the whole darshana, all of us, we'll identify what the society talks against the Shastra when they bring up reason, especially the young people. Those counter thoughts, they look valid, but we are the ones who have to address it. Okay? So now, chanting's left again. I'll have to discipline myself or we'll find some solution. Question? Otherwise, we'll end the class. Take it up next time. Anji? Okay, can you end the class then?
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां स्थिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति
Everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Dipti ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gigi, a very small question.